And to try to let that stand, which I think is unlawful, and the laws that it's based on unconstitutional, is unconscionable as a legislator.
How do healthcare workers go from being heroes to zeros? Well, in this one, Belly Two Brains, one of the things I'm going to talk about is the way that the state of Florida is making a change to some of that and how that might impact our local families. One of the things that I've been really lucky to have access to over the last couple of years has been a vast variety of healthcare professionals who are interested in natural health and want that for not only their bodies, but also for their children. And one of the things that has been a struggle over the last year and a half has been watching those people who were widely lauded for being on the front lines of the pandemic. And everybody was cheering them on and ringing bells outside the windows and doing everything they could while these people were just PP'd up, right? And so the question that has been asked over the last year and a half by people like myself and some of my friends is, well, what do we know about this? And what can we do to help prepare our bodies and to help get stronger? And so some of that included some of my friends getting sick with COVID. Some of my friends went through that process. It was not easy for all of them. Some of them ended up in the hospital. And so we've done recovery with some of those people. And one of the things that then, is kind of like your present, like your grand prize for going through that process is now you have a full complement of the immune system, antibodies and chemicals to help fight off the next wave of infection. And they do that successfully. So when it came time for them to come to work and we had a new mandate about whether or not they needed to have vaccination, a lot of them were scratching their heads. They went to the same immunology classes I went to. They went to the same ones that their bosses went to. And they understood that natural immunity was really important at helping to give a broad base of protection against any kind of virus threat in the world. So they were saying, well, I mean, I've got antibody titers and I can show you that I've got immunity to this. Why can't that be enough? Just like when they asked if they had their whooping cough, their DTaP, or if they had Hep B or anything like that, what they did was they did an antibody titer to just confirm that this person still had immunity. If they didn't, they would give them boosters. So our question always has been, well, let's come up with a policy. Wouldn't you think that would, a policy that would make sense? And some of them have been placed on administrative leave. They were told, hey, listen, if you're not going to do it the way that the Center for Medicaid and Medicare Services, CMS, the way that they dictated to us, we can't get paid, and so we aren't going to pay you. So you're going to take a leave of absence until they decide to, toe the line the way that this is being dictated to us. And that's really tough for a lot of people to swallow, especially as healthcare professionals who do understand the implications of this. They have had patients that they've walked through that process. Some of them made it, some of them didn't. And what they're asking for is choice. And so in the state of Florida, our governor, Ron DeSantis, has made a declaration that the Congress, our House and our Senate here locally in the state of Florida get together and have a special session. So I was watching that special session, and I got to tell you, I've been involved in alternative healthcare, I would say, since prior to 2000 when I started at Palmer College of Chiropractic as a student. I've been interested in this since I was in high school. And so I've had a lot of time to read and follow different ways of healing and understanding how the human body works. And in that time frame, I've had a lot of conversations with people about informed consent and people's right to choose what goes into their bodies. It has always felt like I was the weirdo and the only person that was talking about this stuff, all the way back to the days that I started doing this as something called Guerrilla Health Report. And it just felt like I was talking out in the woods, and I had some friends who kind of got it, but most of the people, especially legislators, really didn't understand what I was talking about. And so as I watched the public access stream of the committees yesterday, I would just have tears in my eyes, because here I saw representatives and senators from Florida that were talking about the same points that I've been making my entire career.
Science works on hypotheses that you have to validate through facts. We don't have all the facts on COVID, and I'm not going to predispose you to what may be the thoughts in the federal government, because I don't know what they are myself, but I know there's a lot of holes.
That natural immunity is important, that the science on this is still in process. We are To quote one of the senators, we are building the airplane in midair, right? We're putting together that right now. And so when we start looking at the questions about, oh, well, this is settled, we know it's safe, that's not quite true. And it was really nice to have other elected officials start talking about the stuff that we've been trying to tell people. Hey, listen, absolutely, there's a lot of studies that still need to be done on why people get sick, even if they've been vaccinated. Why some people who are not vaccinated are completely asymptomatic. To try to understand the physiology behind this and to give people the opportunity to have a choice in their own healthcare process. Because I think that's a God-given right. I mean, that is autonomy. And I know there are some people who disagree with that. There's some people who say, well, for the greater good, this should be done. And that's understandable if we had something that was like a sanitizing vaccine, where we know that if you got this, you would never get it again. That just doesn't seem to be the case, even though that's what we were told. It's really interesting to me to now see that we have people in these positions of power who are protective of the ability for parents to start making choices for their kids, and really that it's not just like one or two people, that it's like a full Senate going ahead and voting to pass these things, so like a full House committee voting to pass these things, whereas we've been lobbying for some of these protections to just like take our children's health records out of a public system, if that's something that we choose to do. We had to fight for years for that, to get the power away from something like the Department of Health to come in forcibly and say, in the time of emergency, knock on the doors, look at your address and say, hey, listen, it looks like your shots aren't up to date. We're here to go ahead and do that right now. That was a power that we granted into our Surgeon General in 2002 in the state of Florida. And it was just mind-blowing to me to watch senators who had served in the Congress here in the State House for Florida say, when we gave that to them, the context of this was 9/11. That we had terrorism, we had bioweapons, we had all kinds of things that we were really scared of, and we made decisions out of fear, and I wasn't real comfortable with it then, and now is the opportunity that we have to make things right. I just couldn't believe my eyes yesterday, and I was so proud of the parents, the healthcare providers, the EMS workers, the firefighters, the doctors that travel from out of state, some electrobiologists that came in and gave testimony. The people who really rallied to say, hey, there has been a different side, a minority opinion apparently in this country for a long time that hasn't been listened to, and we're very grateful that finally it seems like we've got a voice.
Don't get stuck because you don't agree with maybe one thing, or you found that one thing might not be true. When you look at the totality of evidence, particularly for immunity, it's very, very clear. And the fact that the federal government is trying to mandate vaccinations without taking that into consideration is unconscionable to me as a physician and as a scientist per se.
If you want to move to Florida, come on down, plenty of space. We have I'm really, really happy with how things are going right now. I really think that if some of the things that we can accomplish together, working together, absolutely understand who needs to get protection, and absolutely understand that if your child has a cold or a flu or anything like that, one of the things that we learned is it's okay to go ahead and have your kid wear a mask. It's okay to teach your kid how to wash your hands. It's okay for us to wash our hands between patients. We get spit up on or whatever. We don't have to come to work sick. We can take a rest day. We can let our bodies heal. We're having some really cool cultural changes, and one of those cultural changes is also an understanding of individual autonomy. And I'm really, really grateful for that, because for the longest time, I thought that was just going to go away. I honestly left the United States for a little while over that issue, and found myself back here and just felt like I had an uphill battle the entire time. And this is the very first time in my career where I feel like the tide's turned. We're seeing more and more people starting to come out of the woodwork and feeling the same way. Some people were feeling a little confused by information they had been given that said that this was all going to be, gone and they could get back to normal life, and they haven't. So we're starting to dig in a little bit and starting to ask the questions that we've been asking all along too. So super, super happy for that. If you have any questions about things that may not be, the popular opinion, understand that the research that we provide here on One Belly Two Brains is referenced always. things from the CDC. We reference the National Institutes of Health. We recognize that the Health and Human Services Department also puts out their own information. Peer-reviewed journals are where I get all my sources from. I'll track all that stuff down. If someone says a study says X, Y, Z, I go and read the whole study. And so I always want to provide you guys with information that you can use and information that you can share and information that, more importantly, you can trust and rely on. So we come to you on Wednesdays here on One Belly Two Brains on Facebook. We also do it on Instagram. We also do it on YouTube. So if you want to watch past videos, that's where they're archived. I'm happy to have you leave comments or share it and give me a thumbs up. It helps me know that you're engaged, and it also helps me answer the kinds of questions that you want to ask. So until next time, I hope you guys all take great care.